Hello there. Gather round, because I've got a story for you. It's a mystery from the heart of the Asante Kingdom in Africa, a puzzle that stumped even a king. Let's dive in.
Okay, so picture this. The king's palace is absolutely buzzing with energy. Everyone's rushing around getting ready for the big A-Day festival. You can just imagine the sun glinting off these beautiful gold discs people are wearing, and these amazing patterned cloths called adinkra are fluttering in the breeze. The whole place just felt so alive.
But then, a gasp. In a special, guarded room, something was terribly, terribly wrong. The kingdom's most precious treasure, the golden stool, was gone. The velvet cushion where it was supposed to be, empty. And just like that, panic started to creep through the palace, like a cold shadow. The very soul of the nation had just vanished.
So, this is where our story really gets going. A sacred symbol is gone, the whole kingdom is in a panic, and a very unexpected person gets called in to try and solve the whole thing.
Now you got to understand what this golden stool, or sikadwa, really is. This was not a throne for the king to sit on. No way. The legend says it literally came down from the sky, and that it held the spirit of the entire Asante people. It was their strength, their history, their heart, all in one sacred object.
And the person in charge of protecting this incredible treasure was the Asante Hene, the king. He was this wise, respected leader, but now he had a huge problem on his hands. I mean, how do you lead your people when their very spirit has gone missing?
And right into the middle of all this chaos walks our hero, Kwaku. Now, he wasn't a guard or a prince or anything like that. He was a young man who wove baskets. But Kwaku was different. He was quiet, he was observant, and he saw little details and patterns that everybody else just missed. People even said he had the clever spirit of Anansi the spider. So while all the royal guards are running around looking for enemies and checking for broken locks, Kwaku starts his own investigation. It was a lot quieter. He just knew the answer wasn't going to be found by shouting, but by looking at the silent little details.
And you might be wondering, right? The king's best guards are totally stumped. So how could a boy who just weaves baskets possibly solve a crime that has the entire kingdom shaking? Well, he started by looking where nobody else even thought to look.
See, instead of searching for big, obvious clues, Kwaku looked for the tiny ones. On the floor of that empty room, he found two little things everyone else had walked right over. First, a really faint smear of a reddish clay called ntuma, and second, caught on the door was a single dark reddish-brown thread. Kwaku then started talking to people, but he was doing more listening than talking. The guards, they just shrugged and said the festival drums were so loud they might have missed something. The blacksmith just scoffed. He cared more about his strong weapons than some golden stool. And a visiting dignitary? He just seemed to be trying to use the whole mess to his advantage. None of their stories fit with those two tiny clues.
And that's when Kwaku realized something. These clues weren't pointing to a normal thief, someone who was just greedy or hungry for power. No, they were telling a totally different story, a story that was all about the traditions of his people.
He took that one little thread he found to the royal weavers. An old woman there, she looked at it and knew right away. It was from a kuntukuni cloth. And this wasn't something you'd wear to a party. It was a special, sad kind of cloth, worn only by people who worked on the royal tombs, to show respect for the kings of the past.
And remember that red clay? Well, Kwaku found out that ntuma was sacred. It was used to build shrines, and it was also worn by people who were in mourning. The cloth and the clay were pointing to the exact same thing, someone connected to honoring ancestors and funeral traditions. His search finally led him to an old priest, and the priest didn't give him an answer, not really. Instead, he shared a proverb. He pointed to a carving and said, "The royal stool is not long enough to seat two." It was a warning, you see, a famous warning against two people fighting for the throne. And that was the final clue.
So now Kwaku had all the pieces. And just like he weaves fibers to make a basket, he started weaving all these clues together. And a single clear picture started to form.
Here's how he figured it out. He knew it wasn't about greed. The clues, that funeral cloth and the sacred clay, they pointed to someone doing a sad but important job. And the proverb about the stool, that revealed the reason why. The person who took the stool wasn't trying to steal it, they were trying to protect it from a big fight they thought was about to happen.
So, the mystery was solved. Now, all that was left was for the king's wisdom to fix everything and bring harmony back to the kingdom. So, when Kwaku explained it all to the king, the old priest's young apprentice stepped forward. With tears in his eyes,
He confessed everything. He'd heard whispers that a rival was going to try and take the throne, and he got so scared that he hid the stool in a new shrine to keep it safe. He honestly thought he was doing the right thing.
The king listened to the whole story, and his judgment was just amazing. He told the young man, "You acted not from a black heart, but from a foolish one. Your devotion is strong, but your wisdom is lacking." Instead of throwing him in prison, the king sentenced him to a year of study to learn what real wisdom was all about.
And with the Golden Stool returned, safe and sound, the Ada Festival could finally begin. The drums started beating, and the people celebrated with more joy and relief than ever before. Everything was right again.
The king then called for Kwaku, but he didn't give him a big bag of gold. No, he gave him something way more valuable, a special ceremonial fly whisk, which was a huge symbol of wisdom and clear thinking.
And the king announced to everyone, "A sharp eye and a clear mind are greater treasures than any metal." Kwaku had shown them all that the quiet power of just paying attention can be stronger than any sword. And that leaves us with a little question to think about. What treasure do you value most?